Getting nervous now. There's no doubt about it, actually. Excitement has turned to nerves. Maybe because it's Monday. Wednesday seems very close now, doesn't it? It's, yeah, I can't be the only one. There must be a number of you watching this who are feeling equally nervous. But, obviously equally excited. Seems to go between one or the other at the moment. But it's certainly hard to shift it out your mind. It's a big deal. Big deal for West Ham at the moment. We're going to be covering from now up until the final. We'll be covering all the Fiorentina stuff over on the main channel. So go and check that out. One of the benefits of having two channels, we can concentrate on that on one channel and just do the sort of the up to date, the transfer stuff, the gossip, all of that sort of stuff over on this channel, which we'll be doing today. I just want to cover some of the news. However, some of the breaking news today does pertain to the Fiorentina game, because I think the first thing we'll start with before we get into sort of any transfer tittle-tattle is that Fiorentina apparently have two injury concerns. Now, I think all of this has to be taken with a pinch of salt. I think once we get into this far into it, you are going to have some mind games being played. So I'll just tell you now, as Barak and Sirigu, Salvatore Sirigu, no doubt, are rumoured to be injured and they're not going to feature against West Ham. How much truth there is to that, I don't know. How pivotal are they to Fiorentina? I don't know. And certainly their manager, Italiano, who's the Fiorentina manager, he's certainly demonstrated that he's up for a few mind games. He pretty much called David Moyes the best coach in England, or one of the best coaches in England, heaped a load of praise on West Ham, then declared to the media that he was going to tactically foul us. Now, listen, I don't actually mind all that stuff, but what it does show is that he's right up for a few mind games. If he's right up for a few mind games, then I certainly wouldn't put it beyond him to leak some information or some misinformation about the fitness of some of his team. So I think that's only going to be ramped up as it goes on. I think we'll see it ramped up towards the maybe the match officials as well. It's going to be crazy. Also, there's going to be a massive police presence there. They're expecting up to 20,000 West Ham fans for the final in Prague. That absolutely will happen. I know, we all know, you must all know loads of people that are travelling out there, even though they don't have a ticket. They just want to soak up the atmosphere. They want to be in and around Prague. They want to, go into bars. They got a fan park out there. So there's going to be a big police presence out there, which might one of the big stories. So it's going to be interesting. As you may well know, there's a lot of us lot over here who can't go over to Prague. We're going to a fan event over in Hackney Wick, which we're really looking forward to on that. That's for sure. In other news, West Ham have got a relatively clean slate in terms of injury, haven't we? There's even some rumours that Skamaka might be back. Even if he was back, he's surely not going to make the squad for that. He hasn't played a game in ages, so I think too little, too late for him on that one. And let's be fair, after all the talking that Mikel Antonio's been doing over the last few days, you've got to suspect he's up for it. He's fit and firing. I mean, he has got a massive point to prove. He really does. I don't think he'd have had any more points to prove than anybody else. But I just think sometimes players paint a target on their own back. So I think we expect a big performance from Antonio in this one. Well, there has been tons and tons of gossip surrounding who might replace Mikel Antonio at West Ham, because, the rumours suggest that he's off at the end of the season. I don't want to talk about that too much now. I certainly don't want to talk about David Moyes' future or anything like that. I think he's definitely earned the right to enjoy the build-up to this without any talks of that, any videos of that sort of nature going on. So we'll discuss that for another day. What is evident is that we're looking to bring in another attacker, apparently, Boulaye Dia. Remember him? We were linked with him, been linked with him in the past two transfer windows. We're linked with him again. Ida Johnsonitis, this one, I think, just not something that's ever going to happen. And I'm not too bothered about it anyway, so I don't want to spend any time doing it. What I will say is there are just numerous reports, before I get on to a couple of young, exciting players who have been linked with, just the reports on James Ward-Prowse. There's so many of them. And what was clear, that if you watched the if you watched the video that was done by Analytics United over on the other channel about who we could get in to replace Declan Rice, it was real innovation. There was real thought to some of their targets. Players in the main, I think almost all the players bar one, I hadn't heard of. And these are clearly two lads who do feature for us over on our Patreon channel on Hamalytics, if you want to go and check that out, who have a real encyclopedic knowledge and statistic and data-driven knowledge of players in and around the game, who might be the best up-and-coming young midfielders in European football. And it was refreshing to listen to it. It was an education to listen to it, because I didn't know who these guys were, what they were good at, and it was sort of thought-provoking. And when I heard again us being linked with James Ward-Prowse, us being linked to James Ward-Prowse, I felt, was exactly the same as when we were looking for a manager earlier in the season, us being linked with Rafa Benitez. Where's the imagination in it? What about unearthing a gem? What about unearthing the next big, good young player? I was completely underwhelmed by it, really. And for that reason, I sort of hope it won't happen. But I think that transfer is very much tied to David Moyes' future. So I don't overly want to discuss it any more than I already have. Fabrizio Romano, who of course has appeared on Hammer's Chat a few times, he has now suggested that Manchester United have entered the race for Declan Rice. The Declan Rice stuff is fluid all the time. It's really hard to keep a track on it. So a couple of days ago, the news was that Declan Rice had turned down Bayern Munich, and it was Arsenal and only Arsenal. Now turns around that there's been a second schmooze by Bayern Munich, and apparently Declan's father and agent are talking to Bayern Munich again, so it's not just Arsenal or nothing else. This apparently has prompted Arsenal to maybe up their bid. This is exactly what we wanted, by the way. If we wanted to start getting up and above 100 million, we wanted a bidding war. We really did. Because at the end of the day, Declan, West Ham do have to accept the bid. It's not like Declan can just choose. So I don't know, is he now considering Bayern Munich? Apparently they've been quite pleased. When I say they, I mean Team Declan, Team Rice, been quite pleased by what Thomas Tuchel has had to say at Bayern Munich. Man United coming in for him. I mean, they need, I guess, there's not a club in the world, I don't think, who wouldn't benefit from Declan Rice being in the midfield. Let's just put it that way. But them entering the fray has got to be a good thing. I wouldn't rule out Man City coming in for him. If Gundogan were to leave Manchester City, I think they could be interested in Declan Rice. But again, they've got a final themselves, so they're not going to want to overly get embroiled in all this stuff just yet. Newcastle again have been mentioned alongside Declan Rice, but I'm not sure how true that is. We've been linked to Harry Maguire again. I'm not going to go into that now because I just think it's just an old and sort of useless rumour. Let me go with this one. Now, here's the tricky one. We've been linked with two players called Diallo, okay? Let me just get this absolutely right now because it's easy to get wrong. So, West Ham have been linked, and by the way, this is somebody who also, so Burnley and West Ham have been linked with Habib Diallo, okay? He's the Senegalese striker, not to be confused with the Ivorian winger. I'll get to him in a second. He's a Senegalese striker. He's played in France majority of his career. He's 27 years of age. Personally, I hope we don't go out and sign 27-year-olds. I think the age profile of our squad is really high. He basically played for Metz. He played for 7 years, made 116 appearances, scored 48 goals. Seems a bit stingy, doesn't it? I mean, that doesn't seem an awful lot during that time. Anyway, 2020 joined Strasbourg, and he's played 100 times for them and scored 41 goals, which I guess is not too bad. But I just wanted to state that is not the same Diallo as, let's get this absolutely right, it was basically the Manchester United winger who has been on loan at Sunderland, and his name is Amad Diallo. Okay, now, this very interesting story with this lad because he was born in the Ivory Coast. His family moved to Italy when he was very, very young. I think he went through at Atalanta, came through at Atalanta, a good player, and could have played for the Ivory Coast or could have played for Italy. Manchester United paid £19 million for this kid, so he was very good, very highly thought of. Went on loan to Rangers initially and did okay. No, nothing great, to be perfectly honest with you, but it was really this last season just gone, that's just ended. He went on loan to Sunderland. He was excellent, scored played pretty much all their games, scored 14 goals, looked superb. Apparently, Erik ten Hag doesn't think he's going to make it at Man United just yet. So they're willing to offload him. They'd prefer a loan. Apparently, we're interested. There you go. Hey, you can't have too many Diallos. They've not gone full Dembele with it, but there's numerous Diallos. I would like us to be linked with another Diallo, actually. That would be pretty good. Lots of little rumours, these sort of things doing the rounds. This one I like. I still think it's a position that should be addressed. You know, somebody that can play out wide and cut inside and score some goals. Let's be fair, it's not really worked out with Maxwell Cornet, has it? Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that now. There's too many fish to fry. I want to keep it light and fluffy ahead of the final on Wednesday. Stay tuned to all the breaking news on here. I say breaking news, we tend to discuss it today. Our opinions on yesterday's breaking news. Yesterday's news today, let's call it that way. And if you want to know about the opposition, Fiorentina, opinions, predicted lineups, anything to do with the final, go and check out everything over on the main channel. I will catch up with you tomorrow.